Playoffs are here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back. The NFL playoffs kicked off today with the Super Wildcard round. And the first two games we had on tap today were two AFC games, as a matter of fact. The NFC will get going tomorrow. But the two games that were on today, in the first game, we had the LA Chargers. They were the 5th seed. They traveled to Houston to play the AFC South champions, the Houston Texans. And it was supposed to be a game of defensive battle. It really started out that way, but then eventually the Houston Texans, they found their footing and they really just put the medal down and they ran out a comfortable winner, 32-12 over the Chargers, who, eventually folded like a cheap suit. But they were actually up 6-0 early in this game as Houston struggled early. They were trying to get the pass game going. And they had an early turnover on their very first game, a fumble, first player fumble, which was, quite odd. They eventually had 3 turnovers, but young Justin Herbert, he chose the wrong time to have his worst passing game of the year. As you know, he led the NFL this year in terms of not turning the ball over. He only had 3 INTs in 17 games. But tonight, he actually ended up with 4 turnovers. 4 INTs, including 2 to All-Pro cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr. He had a brilliant game. And they also had 2 other turnovers. So it was a total defensive effort by the Houston Texans. Their offense, struggled a little bit early. They, as you know, they had some key pieces missing. They have missed Stephon Diggs. They've missed Tank Dell, who suffered that gruesome injury against the Chiefs. So they were down a few receiving options. So, early on in that game, they were really trying to get guys like Michi going in the game, and they were hitting the tight end on a couple of nice plays. But they also had some bad turnovers. They had a fumble, as I said, on their first game. Then CJ threw a very poor INT. They also had another fumble from Joe Mixon. So they ended up with 3 turnovers. But as I said, Justin Herbert, he chose the wrong time to have a horrible game. He had 4 INTs, ladies and gentlemen. It was very, very poor. And as a matter of fact, he looked awfully kind of scared at times in this game as he was under constant duress from that Houston D-line. That the real MVPs of this game for me was that Houston D-line led by second-year all-everything player Will Anderson. Oh man, he was a beast. Then you also had Daniil Hunt on the other side of the line. He was wrecking havoc over there, had a sack as well. And then they also had some other guys, coming through there. Had Barnett inside, and the other number 97 there, forgot his name, but he definitely had a brilliant game. They were all over Justin Herbert. They were all over him. They beat him real bad today. And Justin, at one point there in the second half, he looked really, really like he was in 6s and 7s. I don't want to say he was scared, but he looked like he was in 6s and 7s at some point. So the Houston Texans, the 4th seed, they will now travel to Kansas City next week to take on the defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs, in what I expect to be a battle of 2 very good defensive teams. And we'll see how that one plays out. The Chargers, on the other hand, they were the 5th seed. They went out meekly after having a good season. As I said, Justin Herbert chose the wrong time to really have his worst game of the year. Had 3 turnovers in 17 games this year. Led the NFL in terms of not turning the ball over. But then today he had 4 INTs, which was more than his whole season total. So it was a very meek way for them to go out. They will have to reassess themselves in the offseason. To me, they need some players. They need some players. They really do need some players. They need a bigger oomph at running back to me. They also need somebody else on the outside to complement Ladd McConkey. He had a brilliant game. He had 188 out of the 233 that Justin had on the day. So they will have to assess themselves in the offseason and try to upgrade that offense. Their defense played a good game, so not all is lost. And they had a very good year under Jim Harbaugh, their first-year coach. They had a very good year under him. Very improved. They went from 24th in the league in points allowed to 1st. So that was one improvement. But that offense is really, really limited. It has no home run hitters and except Ladd McConkey, as I said earlier. So they have some work to do in the offseason. In the second game of the doubleheader, the AFC North champions, the Baltimore Ravens, they hosted the Pittsburgh Steelers in what was a rematch. Obviously, these two teams played earlier twice because they're in the same division. They split during the regular season. However, in this game here, it was all Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they took the run game and they ran all over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did not turn the ball over. Actually played a clean game. But in terms of the defense, they got trampled. The Ravens rushed for way over 200 yards. Derrick Henry had 167. Brilliant game, 2 TDs on the ground. Lamar, he was efficient in the year, 16 and 21, like 162 yards, had 2 TDs, hit Rashad Bateman for the opening TD, also came back, had another TD pass later. As I said, the Ravens, though, they really lent into the run game. At one point, on one of their their second drive, Lamar kept the ball 5 consecutive plays, which was incredible. And it was a clear indication that they came into the game deciding that they were gonna lean into the run. As you know, they had missed Zay Flowers earlier because he had gotten hurt, so they knew they were gonna be limited in the passing games in terms of options. So they did the right thing. They lent into the run game and they came away with the victory. They will now move on to play Buffalo next week in what will be a showdown between the 2 presumptive MVP frontrunners. The guys that are 1 and 2 in the vote, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. As you know, Lamar was voted first team All-Pro yesterday, and Josh was second team. So that will be a very exciting game. The other games will be on tomorrow. There are 3 more exciting games tomorrow, and then there's another one on Monday. We'll be back to preview those. But as I said, it was the home teams that got the wins. Both home teams won. The 3 seed, the Ravens won, and the 4 seed, the Houston Texans won. So the AFC, the 2 AFC divisional round games are set for next week, with the Chiefs hosting the Texans, and the Bills, the 2 seed, they will take on the Baltimore Ravens, 2 teams that met earlier this year. So we'll see how those matchups go. And then tomorrow we have the NFC kicking off in full gear. We also have one more AFC game. Of course, the Bills, they will take on the Denver Broncos at home tomorrow. And as you know, you have the Eagles hosting the Packers. And we also have the Washington traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs, the AFC South champions, tomorrow. So we'll be back to preview those games tomorrow. But hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, share, and help us grow the channel, ladies and gentlemen.